Well, Jonathan, I guess I'll start. This is really close at mine. Carol just invited me to the meeting today. Um, yeah, I was stressed yesterday. I was stressed Sunday night, stressed yesterday, had a migraine by noon. Our phase, let me go back, our phase of our school district is different than the school district my own kids go to, so it's really challenging. We're in the phase where we're allowed to continue enrichment if we want, but we're also supposed to start evaluating them in some way so that we can identify pass fail by the end of marking period 4. This is the official first week where the whole district is requiring students to log on. We're using Schoology. The problem is we have 50 plus students who do not have internet, and probably a handful more that they don't know of because they don't speak up. They were encouraged to call the school district if they did not have a computer or internet. The computer problem they've tried to fix. They gave out over 100 plus computers to students and families. Of course, they're the only ones that reached out to the district got some. There's probably people that aren't communicating. But these 50 plus that they know of that don't have internet access, their goal is to, they have a volunteer from the office that is logging into each one of these kids' Schoology pages and downloading assignments from all their teachers and putting it on their thumb drive. And they're going to deliver on Monday afternoons. They're delivering the thumb drive to these kids' houses and then picking them up on Friday. My question is, how do I create completely different curriculum? I thought I was ready because there's a ton of online resources, but nothing is hard and concrete that I can put on a thumb drive to send home to a kid. Any ideas? And the one is equine science. We have an equine science book, but I don't know if this individual took their book home on our random leave of the school on April, what day was that? March 13th. I don't even know. And I'm also blocked with this individual is Spanish speaking. His family does not speak any English. He does speak English very well, but in email communication, I'm talking to the mother and she types to me in Spanish and I have to translate it using an online translator. So,
Stephanie, do you have AgEdNet?
Just now I'm signing up for it. Carol had mentioned that.
There is a whole unit on horses, equine, on there that you could print out, or you can download the reading material, and there's crossword puzzles and worksheets that you could either download or copy and paste into a doc to put on a thumb drive.
Mm-hmm.
The crossword puzzles are printable so that you could, save them as a PDF and then print them. I think that would be an amazing resource for your equine class.
We've used the agednet.com at Trinity and have used it for online learners in the past, and it really is a wonderful resource. And she's correct, that horse unit is top notch, from body parts to disease disorders. It really is a nice resource.
Okay.
Yeah, we found in the discussion yesterday, agednet.com came up in both sessions as an invaluable resource for many topics during this unique time. And it's been a long time, but is that free, or is there a subscription with it?
It is now.
It is now.
It's regularly, our district's always bought it at the beginning of the school year, and it costs like $400 for the school year. But they just opened it up probably 2 weeks ago. So it's large animals, small animals, any kind of animal species you can think of to exotic. So it really does kind of take the cake when you're looking at online resources and worksheets in particular.
Okay. Yeah, I just signed up for their free trial for instructors. I'm at the page where it says that your message has been received. We will contact you shortly. So I have no idea what that
And
means.
they will. They're wonderful
They're
there.
good people. Yeah.
They're really good.
Katie Rank just typed into the chat a resource that she's had a lot of luck with, Bingo Board. Katie, are you able to unmute and discuss that with the group? And if not,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Hi, John. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can.
All right. Yeah. So our district, we started online learning. We're entering week 3. We use Canvas. Our district has put hotspots out to all of our kids. So technically, I think everyone has internet at this point. And we have been doing a complete versus incomplete grading system. So with being in week 3 and just getting student feedback, one of the things the students have said is they enjoy the flexibility, and every kid we're learning is very different with online learning, even than how they learn in the classroom. Some of my high achievers really hate online learning. And so the bingo board, and I'm trying to get a link and I'll share it to you. I don't have an animal science one put together at this point, but I can share my food science. And what has been really nice is I say, hey, here are 20, 15, 16 different assignments. They're all different. Some are watch a video, fill this sheet out and submit it. Some are, hey, food science, I said, hey, go find a recipe to bake a cake from scratch and then go actually make it, and everything in between. There's a word search one there. So whatever the kids want to choose, I say, hey, you have to pick 4. You have to hit 100 points. They all have different points assigned to them. And by the end of the week, it's one assignment. By the end of the week, I need to see evidence of those 4 activities. And it's really nice because, yeah, there's a lot about front work, but then I just have to monitor throughout the week versus be attached to my computer every single day, which the first week I was, and it was not good for me. And Steph, I had similar reactions that first week, like, oh my goodness, this is a little overwhelming. So this just allows me to monitor, and then it allows the kids to have choice, and our special educators have appreciated it because they're able to take it and adapt it if they need to for the student.
Yeah, Katie, I just did a quick Google search of it to try to help you out with finding a link, and I'm not sure that I was able to locate the specific one that you're talking about.
Yeah, I'll grab the one I have together and I'll shoot it to the group here.
Perfect, thank you.
Don, I have an animal science, I call them choice boards, but I have one as well that I'll post a link for in the chat.
I'm new to Zoom. Is there a way to save the chat after we get off of here, or do I have to?
Yeah, I can save the chat also and send it out with the follow-up email from the session.
Okay, thanks.
That help you out, Stephanie?
Yeah, I'm just behind because they are, I don't know, our school is they're asking us to put the accommodation file, I guess you could call it, for these kids that are homebound with no internet on our Schoology page that's easily accessible and for a volunteer to find, so that they then download it to the thumb drive and send it to the kid. So I've been advised to possibly title my folder with the name of the week, and maybe just call it homebound no internet. I don't know, something like that, so I'm not calling the kid out. But the problem is that I feel like we're going backwards. I feel like this volunteer who's doing this and logging on to the kids' Schoology pages, and they're not communicating with the teachers who created the page. So it would be hard for me to log on to our history teacher's Schoology page and figure it out.
So Steph, we have to do the same. We have to provide PDF versions of things for kids without internet to do. And so we have a folder that's like online activities and then offline activities. And then anything in the offline is what gets printed and sent home to kids.
Okay.
So that might be a way for you to do it, that even a kid who's at home could access the offline one and do that if they wanted to, but at least it's an easier way to identify which ones are which.
Yeah. Okay.
Does anybody else have a specific issue that they would like some advice or input on, or anybody have a really great resource that they've had some luck with in the past couple weeks that they'd like to share out?
The CASE curriculum, the animal science CASE curriculum, is amazing to use if you're certified online. I found it to be the easiest so far, you know, to be able to just transfer right online.
Is CASE available right now for those of us that aren't trained in it?
I don't think so.
All right.
I know this is my first session, so I hopefully I'm not going off topic of animal science, but I'm also gathering materials for ag business, and I came across National Geographic and also the History Channel have their own websites where you can grab resources. The History Channel, you can sign up for a free profile, and all you have to do is tell them your TV provider, and you can watch current episodes. I'm currently I'm thinking about having my ag business students watch the American Farm episodes, which are really good.
We just had an email this morning from one of our 2020 cohort pre-service teachers asking for ag business resources. So I'll be sure to share that information with her, Stephanie.
As far as ag business as well, I'm sure you know Penn State Extension is offering those free courses. I signed up for and previewed the partial budgeting, and that one's really good. They're all YouTube videos of the professors explaining the partial budgeting sheet and give you scenarios to walk through and use the sheet. I was going to post those videos and the worksheet, and then I was going to have them watch the American Farm episode and have them fill out a partial budgeting sheet for that episode. So you can sign up for those courses, I believe, free until April 30th.
Yeah, and I'll promote the manure management one through Penn State Extension. I work through that one because I teach a unit in Ag 2 on that. And Ashley's going to put it into her animal science class as well. So I forget how many hours that is. We're required to give 30 to 45 minutes per class per day. So it's like 3.5 hours total per week for a 5-day week. So I think that would take 2 weeks for our kids to work through that manure management session. But it was really well done. And if you were at PWE a couple years ago, when they did the big manure management session, and you got those workbooks and those resources, it actually aligns with those workbooks really well. So those of you that have maybe kids doing SAEs that they need to learn a little bit about manure management and how to be doing that, or even at a large scale level, that was really well done.
Another resource I use for my advanced animal science, now they have to be able to do this online, but the Dairy Leaders of Tomorrow courses are really great. Actually, my advanced animal class is going through the dairy herd management right now. You can even download the lesson plan for them and maybe even put it on as a hard copy. All of the videos are YouTube links, so you could copy and the URL link for them as well. You don't have to have every kid register for a course. You can just be the teacher and share the resources. They don't care either way. But before we left school, I had all of my students register for their own course.
Thanks you for that suggestion, Stephanie. And Katie also is sharing some career safe resources through OSHA, which are free right now. That's excellent.
Wordmint.com. If you're looking for a way to make crossword puzzles, bingo cards, word searches, word scrambles, that is available. It's an awesome resource. One of my co-teachers shared it with me. There is a fee for it, but I think if you buy the lifetime thing, I think it was $20. I've used it a lot just as a review thing for kids, like, hey, here's your vocabulary words, your clue is this, and here's your crossword. The kids seem to like that, and it's easy to make bingo cards. So for those of you who are talking about making your bingo boards, it might be another thing. So I'll share that in the chat for everybody.
Where did the manure management sessions, where do you find that at?
That was through the Penn State Extension modules that you have to sign up for by April 30th. I'll see if I can find the direct link for it.
And did you
Yeah,
say that there are like videos? What is the manure management sessions? Is there work for them to do to turn in? Because that's one of the stipulations that we have to have. We have to have work for them to turn in. It can't just be, let's watch videos.
It's
I
a
did
good question.
video
Go ahead.
tour- Sorry. I did a video tour with My Animal Science where if you go to Eggs 101, they put in a new video project. It's not the same as it's been in the past. And what I had my students do was, for the poultry unit, was that they actually, this is just one example, is that they had to answer 4 specific questions that I gave them from each video. There were 8 videos, and they were short segments, but they had to elaborate on the questions that I asked them. But a video journal is, they're writing, first of all, or we hope they're writing and not plagiarizing. They are critically thinking and putting together a paragraph. Our school, for example, uses the Collins writing, if anyone's familiar with that. And we have to provide them with a writing assignment at least once every 2 weeks. So this has allowed me to not only evaluate what they've learned from what I've given them, but also constructing a well-written paragraph through journaling.
This is all very, very great stuff. Thank you, everybody, for sharing. If nobody has anything pressing at this very moment, I can quickly share screen and share. I put the link to this in the chat box. I believe this was put out through National FFA. And some of you may have seen it come out on a national listserv. Some of you may have already even been using it. This is a sort of gameology-based system. Full disclosure, I had one of these loaded and ready to go on my MacBook and had to make an emergency switch of computers right before this started. But I had a tour of the cell, of an animal cell. There we go, animal cell tour loaded. And I have never played Minecraft, so I have no idea what the actual Minecraft looks like, whether this is realistic towards it or not. But it does come with a lesson plan for teachers, which is excellent, saves you some time, and also provides some validity to it. So again, this is going to be a resource that is dependent on a student having internet access, but it seems pretty straightforward and simple to download and set up. And as far as I know, it's free. Perhaps Mr. Brammer knows differently, or somebody that's been using it. But as you can see, they have a game for tons and tons and tons of different specific animal related and agriculturally related lessons. So I hope that's of use to you.
You sent the link on the chat.
Yeah, I had, I'll resend it here. I had sent it earlier, and then we got talking about other stuff. ffa.app.box.com/v/Minecraft education. Yeah, Mr. Brammer agrees it's free, but I'm not entirely sure either. But I did not see anything that indicated or talked about any kind of price.
Thank you.
Christy updated that the Word Mint is $17.99 for the lifetime subscription to it. So think of some other problems you'd like to discuss. If anybody has any other resources they'd like to share out, feel free to. But one thing I'd also like to mention that I forgot to talk about at the beginning when I was sort of setting the why and the goals of these sessions is, yeah, Stephanie and Carol and I were talking before everybody else hopped on, and you know, this is, I don't think it needs to be said, but this is a fairly stressful time for pretty much everybody in one way, shape, or form. And we're all dealing with, you know, with different stressors in the house, children, different relatives to care for that we may not have normally had. So one of the other goals of this is to just sort of see some familiar faces. You know, we've had a lot of conferences canceled recently. Unfortunately, state convention isn't happening. So this is also a chance for you just kind of to let loose a little bit with some folks that you haven't seen for a while. So, you know, feel free to share other issues you're encountering. Doesn't have to be specifically curriculum related. You know, if you'd like to just vent about a problem that you've encountered with your online instruction or a student, or, you know, this is a community of practice, a community of learning. So feel free to utilize it the way you need to and best suits you. But again, if you have specific curricular or instructional challenges you'd like to discuss or a resource, feel free to. We have just a little bit over 30 minutes scheduled for this, so we've got plenty of time. But we also don't need to take the full time. So if everybody has said their piece, don't feel obligated that we have to stretch this out for an hour. Okay, we've only scheduled an hour. We'll use whatever we need to. Yes, Robin.
There you are. One thing that someone mentioned back in the chat was that the Dr. Pol videos. For any unit that you do on disease or disorders, regardless of what species, if you Google Dr. Pol, and there's also one called Pet Vet, you can watch instructional videos on pretty much any disease or disorders on most species. And that's just something that I found just in the classroom, because for every species that's covered, we go over disease and disorders. And Dr. Pol is excellent as an educator during his treatment of most pets anyways, or animals.
Robin, is that Dr. Paul, P-A-U-L, or Pol?
P-O-L, Dr. Pol, P-O-L.
P-O-L.
And he is he's on the National Geographic channel. You can get him on Netflix. He's had YouTube videos for almost everything. I'll give you an example. When I cover my bovine unit, whether it be dairy or beef, retained placentas, mastitis, really any metabolic or disorder you can think of. You have to do a little research though, because there's not like an actual site that of course I know of, but he is just amazing as far as when he's treating animals, he is actually educating the farmer or telling the farmer, you know, what he's doing when he's on the farm or when the client is in his office. He just does a really good job at doing that. And again, I do that through video journaling, giving the students particular questions to answer, and they can kind of just watch them at their leisure.
Thank you for sharing that, Robin. I will also add that, you know, there's been a slew of digital resources. Every organization, every company, almost that you can think of, has been coming out with digital and online resources to help teachers through this. And the center has been doing its best to kind of capture all of them flying through the interweb, and cataloging them into sort of a repository. We at this time are not intending to make that public. However, if you have a specific need, again, you don't want to wait, you know, you have an animal science question or need, or a need of an animal science digital resource, feel free to reach out to any one of the center team, myself, Beth Matthey, Dr. Ewing, Dr. Curry, Dr. Foster, and explain your specific need, and we will look in that repository to see what we have and sort of coach you through how it's intended to be used. So you don't have to wait for these sessions to ask for help. You can, again, reach out to any of the center team at any time. And just to sort of recap the format, even though it's explained in the email, there's 2 of these sessions occurring every day, Monday through Friday, 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock in the morning, and again at 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock in the afternoon, because we realize that different people are on different schedules. Some school districts are requiring online instruction during the morning, which only allows you to be free for the afternoon, and vice versa. So with that said, every day, Monday through Friday, for the duration of the school closure, we'll be holding these. And we like to center each day around a certain content area. Mondays are ag mechanics, Tuesdays are animal science, Wednesdays are plant science, horticulture, Thursdays are environmental and natural resource management and wildlife, and Fridays we're calling a potluck, where if there's any questions or needs you have that didn't fit into a specific category held earlier in the week, bring them all. Carol's hoping to include a lot of SAE throughout these sessions. She's put in the chat to me here. So we hope to see you at more of these. And again, if you're not able to make a morning session, hop on in the afternoon, and again, vice versa. So let me just try to find what Carol has asked me to. Okay.
Can you find it, John?
Is it in the students and teacher resources supervised agricultural experience? Tab?
It's on paffa.org.
Yeah, yeah. Is it on here? I'll share screen
Just share
here.
it and I can,
You can walk me through it.
okay. So as I've been going through American degrees, some issues, that's what I need. Some issues that I've been seeing that are pretty common is people have trouble, students have trouble understanding the livestock projects in AET. So I did some quick videos. They're very quick videos about, and you can see John has that link open. And Mike Brammer has been posting them onto the PAFFA website. So I did one, how to add animals to a breeding herd project, and then you can read all the other titles. They're about, one of them is pretty long, but most of them are about 10 minutes or so long. I did one the other day, Sharissa asked about how to do a green hand degree application. So that's done, and when Mike has a chance, he'll post that up. But I'll have some more videos coming as I think of topics. In the morning, generally, I do a quick video and then send it on. They're not edited, they're not fancy, they're just basic videos, but I think it'll, they kind of are step by step and talk the kids through how to set these projects up. So if you have ideas for other videos that would be helpful to either you or your students, let me know. And then I will run those and we'll post them. Thanks, John.
John, can I just give everybody a hint on a general Zoom thing as people start to use Zoom more and more?
Absolutely.
So if you're recording your Zoom sessions, then the chat automatically saves with the recording. If not, the chat is downloadable in the bottom right-hand corner where it would say to, and it would be selected to say everyone. There's like a box with 3 dots. If you click on that, you can save the chat and then it'll have all the links and stuff for you. Just know that even if you send messages privately back and forth to each other, it all shows up when you download the chat. So I was harassing Marty a few minutes ago about having his mask on. And so if you download the chat, you'll see our harassing conversation back and forth. But just keep that in mind that those private messages aren't really private. Once you download the chat, everybody will have it. So as you're like in, I don't know, faculty meetings and stuff with staff and other teachers and things, just keep that in mind that it's not as private as it sounds. But otherwise, good luck.
Very, very
Stay
good
safe.
point to make, Sharissa. Very good point.
I just have a quick question, and I don't know if anybody else is going through this, but our district has gone the enrichment and review idea. But the first week I had 4 out of 46 kids complete what I uploaded. Last week I had 0. I feel like even though I'm putting the time into it, I feel like I'm not doing that much. And I don't know how to encourage kids. I think it's silly to make them do something that's not graded, but I understand the aspect of having them learn also. So I've had kids say, well, Mrs. Good, it's not graded. Why should I do it? Well, what should I mean, keep your minds working, I guess, but does anybody else not grading work and still having kids turn things in?
So we are grading kids based on their engagement, not on their actual work that they do. So if they complete the assignments, if they communicate with us, and if they attend the virtual classes once a week, they get their points. It's 2 points a week is what they get. And then that becomes their Q4 grade, I guess. It's basically, it's highly engaged or not engaged, whatever. So it still affects them, but it doesn't affect their GPA or their numerical grade. So I agree with you. Until we started saying we were going to evaluate them on something, we weren't getting anything either. But don't be afraid. Like if you posted stuff last week and nobody did it, post it again. I mean, don't kill yourself over something they're not going to do anyway.
We were told that the 3rd and 4th marking period are pass-fail, and we are to keep track, just like Sharissa said, with a 0 or 1 point. 0, they didn't do it. 1 point, they did it. And they have as long as they want to do it. I'm finding that very difficult to have any kind of continuity with lessons. as far as building on the previous lesson. They can't do the new one if they didn't do yesterday's. We're required to do 30 minutes per day per class. And my struggle is with the special needs students. Our current, she just got hired. She was an interim, she was our superintendent, and she just got hired the week before this all went down. And she is a former special ed director. And she is very current on special ed law, and in our faculty meetings that we've done virtually, she has told us over and over again, you need to use the word assessment, not graded. You must use the word assessment, that these lessons will be assessed, not graded, because of the special ed, the federal special ed laws and so on.
Yeah.
Hey, just jump. Oh, sorry, John.
Nope. Go ahead, Katie.
I was just going to jump in again from my experience. As far as the building, I think that was definitely one of my hardest parts. Like, okay, I'm in the middle of my soils unit. What am I going to do? So what I found the first week, I tried to build a 5-day unit. So just for that week, and my special education population was not successful. They got through like 2 or 3 days. And then it was too much for them to do independently. So I pushed that back, and I did finish my soils unit, but I did it with a max of like a 3-day unit. So if we talk about soil particles, I actually made them go outside and dig up soil and do a field test, and then like a texture field test, and then a ribbon test, and then we were done. And then we went into something new. We looked at web soil survey. We did 3 days on that. So that was successful for me. And then as special education teachers reached out about how to help their students, I was easily able to break that down and was able to go, okay, well, part 1 and 2, have them pick one or the other test. So then it really became a 2-day little unit for them versus a 3-day. But I found 3 days is really the max. But again, kind of self-option, so kids have choice, has really been, again, my success with, again, 3 weeks here, people, but that's been my success.
Yeah, I would agree with all the comments that have been said already. And I guess I'll just add to it that I guess there's a bit of a silver lining to everything, even this situation, where what better time than now than to make the curriculum and learning relevant to the students in their home lives. When you're at school, believe it or not, school has some limits to learning itself, and especially making it sort of internalized and intrinsic to students. So in covering anatomy of a plant, have them go look around the plants at their house and identify the different, maybe label them, or I don't know, put sticky notes or something on them, because I don't know, in my mind, it's an excellent time to take stuff and take topics that would normally be taught in what I consider classrooms to be pretty sterile and unrealistic. Take this information and apply it to the world in which you exist, which your home is a big part of that. Anything related to food, how better to make things relevant than to tie things to the food that's in their own fridge right now. Any kind of activities that you can do to utilize this opportunity to make the learning very real and relevant, given the current situation, I think that might help with that intrinsic desire to learn the stuff. And I think we in ag have an upper hand versus math and history and English and stuff, in which the stuff we teach can very easily be made relevant and real to their home life. So that's my input.
Every kid should have an SAE at home right now.
Can you give some examples, like outside of the box, besides like, are you talking like general maintenance, like mowing the grass, like picking up, planting a garden, things like that?
Yeah. So some of the videos I got, my IQ class was only about 10 kids. So the couple of examples I had was, yeah, definitely outside. Like one kid learned how to use Roundup and actually sprayed their weeds around their house. Now, I always tell them, make sure if it's something new, you're working alongside someone. I had somebody that learned how to maintenance their lawnmower. That was an interesting one. I had someone learn how to crochet. I had somebody that had rabbits, and she did this as an agri-science prior, but she actually took the hair and she dyed it with Kool-Aid she had in her house. So that was pretty like unique. But yeah, like using Roundup at their home, planning. The one kid, did like a crocheting, a knitting. I had a kid actually looked up how to do dishes properly because they were struggling, and I saw this through food science. So they YouTube how to safely like wash dishes, put them away, like fill a dishwasher. And that was very interesting too. So some of them were pretty creative. Some of the kids had access to shops. The one kid built a birdhouse. That was kind of neat, kind of expanded off of a freshman SAE project. So yeah, they were pretty creative with some of them. I had one kid revamp my plant science or my plant sale website. It's a Google site, and they wanted to learn how to use Google Forms. It's one of my officers, or excuse me, Google Sites. And it was one of my officers, and they were been trying to learn more about Google. So I give them my plant sale website, and they learned how to do that. So those are some of the things they worked through.
Nice.
Have any of you used podcasts?
So Kelly, are you referring to like the Apple podcasts?
Well, just assigning podcasts as an assignment.
Existing podcasts that you would have students listen to.
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if you were talking about creating a podcast as an assignment or not.
No, I was talking about having them listen to certain podcasts.
I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody have good? Kelly asked if anybody has been using them. Katie's asked in the chat box if anybody knows of good ones that would be good to use for students to listen to. I've never listened to a podcast in my life, I'll have to admit, but Carol says there's some good ones on gardening.
Well, can we put that out there? And if anybody finds any, to let us know, like maybe, how are we going to continue to communicate other than this particular webcast?
That's a great question. I would encourage everybody to, feel free to, I'm going to send a report or sort of a recap email of this session. It is being recorded, and we don't quite know what we're going to do with those recordings yet. But you'll have everybody's email that was on this session today. So for instance, if anybody that was any of the 19 people that were on this call at one point finds a good podcast and you'd just like to hit a reply all to the email I'm going to send out after the fact with that podcast, that would be one way that we could I mean, this group is going to be fluid and change from week to week to week and day to day. But this specific call with these people that are talking, you could just do a reply all and kind of create an email string, closing back some of these questions that are popping up.
You know what? I just found, I forgot about this when I was frantically looking online for things to do. I did find one of my resources. I have a list of some podcasts. This teacher actually gave the students this list, and it says, I encourage you to try and listen to a variety of podcasts during the duration of your weekly podcast assignment. So this was an assignment that they gave. And some of the topics: legacy farmer, UNL, beef watch, agronomy and farm management. It's actually in a Word doc. So I'm not sure. That's why I was asking about, one of the reasons I was asking about sharing. I would gladly share this. Someone shared it with me. I just don't know how to do that.
Well, and Kelly, to that end, if anybody has a resource that you'd like to share out, for the good of the group, again, feel free to send it to any of the center team members, myself, Beth Matthew, Dr. Ewing, Dr. Foster, Dr. Curry, and we can have Miss Tiffany Mori, our exiting PhD student, add it to that repository, so that it's there for, if somebody asks for something that it pertains to, we can pull that out and share it to them.
Something I just found, and I just thought of this, it's called Journey 2050. And what it does is it gives 8 lessons with an overview lesson as well on the growing population and how that trickles down into many areas of agriculture. And it gives a variety of activities for each lesson. And someone had shared that on one of the ag sites. I can't remember which one now, but very informative as far as giving students the tools to use to see what the growing population is going to mean to. Thank you, Kathy. I appreciate that, or whoever just put that on. But I started that in my intro class, and they are able to follow along with it. And I've had to revamp it just a little bit because it does tend to get long, and all the videos can't be downloaded. So I did narrow it down to 3 activities per lesson versus the 5 or 6 that are on there. So.
So how do you see all of this changing education, especially agricultural education?
Well, I hope other folks chime in. I have heard numerous people say that this is going to change education permanently. Specifically, what that looks like and how, I guess we have yet to see and has yet to be determined. But I don't know. I think it has pushed some folks that weren't necessarily in operating in the digital space into it out of need and sort of to survive. But quite honestly, I don't really hope that that part necessarily stays too much. And again, specific to your question of ag ed, I don't really want us to move digital. I think the name of ag ed's game and what has set us apart was our ability to make learning real and hands-on and connect students to their world. So I agree that to the folks that say that this is going to permanently change the world and education specifically, they're probably right, but I hope not completely.
You guys, I just did a search podcast in Google, podcast, agriculture, and it came up with a whole bunch of podcast series on different topics in agriculture. So like Modern Farmer, The Modern Acre, Successful Farming. So there is a lot out there on of podcasts on different agriculture topics.
I guess my question is, how do you use them, or how do you assess them? I guess is my biggest thing. I mean, putting it out there for the kids is one thing, but how do we assess their learning?
A reflective blog assignment that accompanies it, perhaps?
Have them write some questions that they could ask somebody else. Have them develop a foundational SAE project from it. They could take terms out of the podcast, research the terms, and do a 10 words that they didn't know before.
I'm like you, John. I've never before, I'm sorry.
Nope, go ahead.
I'm like you. I've never listened to a podcast in my life. I just know that, people are, and that I just do they change? Like, is that link that's up that, that is for modern farming or whatever, does that change every day? Like, if we assign that podcast, is that one session? Like, I think of NPR, like their session that morning. Is that what it is? Is it a taped session, or how does it work?
So again, without actually ever listening to one, I can say that through our Teach Ag Chats podcast, no, not the Teach Ag Chats, our Teach Ag podcast that we've done for the past 2 years now, I believe. It's more or less an audio version of a Zoom recording where every session has its own linked, and we have the links to each recording or session archived so that you can listen back to them after the fact. So yeah, and Leanna says she doesn't believe the links change either. So I can speak specifically to ours, that each one has its own unique link that doesn't change. And I would assume that that's how the normal podcast world operates as well.
Can you put an email on this chat about where you want the stuff sent to? Like exactly what email?
Yeah, okay, you can just put them, you can just send them to me. That's fine. But I did want to circle back. Leanna, I believe in response to Kelly's question about how to utilize podcasts effectively, Leanna had a great point of utilizing these different educational platforms such as Google Classroom and Schoology and Canvas and all the other ones that are out there that might be used, and create an assignment out of the discussion around a podcast. I would think the more controversial ones, or current events or sort of ag issues ones that you can identify that would generate some very strong opinions, utilize these educational platforms to do an online discussion board and assign a point to every, I don't know if you're supposed to use points or not, but if a student responds and then also rebuttals a comment that was made to them, of course, civilly and using information and research to back up their opinion, that would be one way to turn an assignment, create an assignment out of listening to a podcast. There you go. Leanna's, yep. They use them, have students make an initial post to talk to each other, 2 different people, and responses, 3 points per discussion. Yeah, no, that's what I would recommend. Great idea.
John, back to my original question about Ag Ed Network. I did get a response for them. They have free access login for students and teachers up until April 30th. And I sent you I forwarded that email to you. with the
Okay,
login.
excellent. Thank you for that, Stephanie. Well, we are at 11:02. I'm happy to remain on as long as folks have questions or comments to make. But we don't want to keep you past the scheduled time either. So at this time, feel free to log off as needed. I will remain on until everybody else is gone. Thank you again to everybody for joining today. And again, we will be having a repeat session this afternoon, 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock. And tomorrow, the topical focus is plant science horticulture.